Welcome back to Coin Collector. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of three classic United States quarters, the 1985, the 1991, and the 1995 Washington quarters. These coins may look like ordinary change, but each one carries its own story, history, and hidden value that collectors love to uncover. The 1985 quarter comes from the mid-80s era, a time when millions were minted, but condition and mint marks can make a big difference in value. Then we move to the 1991 quarter, a coin that many people still see in circulation today, but rare varieties and high-grade conditions can make this common coin surprisingly valuable. And finally, the 1995 quarter, a piece from the mid-90s, which also has some interesting details collectors should always check for. So stick around as we break down the history, mintages, errors, and collector values of these three quarters that might just be hiding in your pocket change. We're going to dive into the world of the 1991 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, it's just another quarter you'd find in your change, but as with many coins, the details matter. Some 1991 quarters can actually be worth far more than face value. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, from mint marks to errors, condition, and even the highest auction prices. So stick with me, because this coin has more to it than meets the eye. Let's start with the design. On the obverse, or front, we see the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan back in 1932 to celebrate Washington's 200th birthday. His bust faces left, with the word Liberty above, the motto "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date 1991 below. On the reverse, we have the striking eagle design, wings spread wide, holding arrows, with olive branches underneath. This symbol of strength and peace was used on Washington quarters all the way until 1998, just before the state quarter program began in 1999. Now, let's talk composition. By 1991, quarters were no longer struck in silver. Instead, they were made of copper nickel clad, a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of copper and nickel. So, unlike pre-1965 quarters, there's no silver content here. That means any value beyond 25 cents comes entirely from collectible demand, rarity, and condition. Moving on to mintage figures. In 1991, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 570 million quarters. The Denver Mint was close behind with about 630 million, and the San Francisco Mint produced more than 2.8 million proof quarters for collectors. Altogether, we're talking well over 1 billion coins produced in that single year, which makes 1991 quarters very common. That's why, for the most part, a circulated 1991 quarter is worth only face value. But condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. Let's break down the value by mint. Starting with the Philadelphia Mint, which did not place a mint mark on quarters in 1991. A circulated example is only worth about 25 cents to maybe 50 cents. But uncirculated pieces begin to climb. At MS-60 they might fetch around $1. At MS-65, you could see values in the range of $15 to $20. And at the very top, in grades like MS-67, the value shoots up to $75 or more. One particularly fine example even sold at auction for over $300. Next, the Denver Mint, marked with a D on the obverse. Circulated Denver quarters are also worth face value, maybe a little more to bulk collectors. But in mint state, the story changes. An MS-60 Denver quarter can be worth a couple dollars. At MS-65, prices rise into the $20 to $30 range. And at MS-67, which is an extremely high grade for a clad coin, the value can hit $100 or more. Auction sales have even gone as high as $350 for near-perfect Denver quarters. Now let's look at the San Francisco Mint. These coins were produced as proofs, specially made for collectors. Proofs are struck with polished dies on specially prepared planchets, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and frosty details. The 1991 S-proof quarter is very common, with millions struck, so most sell for only $3 to $5. However, the most perfect examples, deep cameo proofs graded PR70, can sell for much higher, sometimes $50 or more. While not as rare as some earlier proofs, they're still very attractive to collectors. But the real excitement comes with error coins. Error quarters from 1991 can be worth serious money. Examples include off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, and quarters struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine finding a 1991 quarter struck on a nickel or dime planchet, that could be worth hundreds, even over $1,000 depending on condition. Some collectors have also found filled mint marks or weak strikes, which add to the value. Always check your coins carefully under good light or a magnifying glass. So, what's the bottom line on the 1991 quarter dollar? The truth is, most are worth just 25 cents. They're very common, and with more than 1 billion minted, they aren't scarce. But the exceptions are where the money is. High-grade mint state coins, flawless proof coins, and rare mint errors can command prices ranging from $20 to several $100s. If you believe you've got one of these special examples, the best step is to submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Having a coin officially graded not only confirms its authenticity and condition but also boosts its market value dramatically. Before we wrap up, here's a quick summary. Circulated 1991 quarters are usually worth face value. Mint state Philadelphia and Denver coins can range from a couple dollars to over 100 in high grades. Proofs from San Francisco are common, but nice deep cameo examples can sell for $50 or more. Error coins are the true treasures, worth anywhere from a few hundred to even over $1,000 depending on the mistake. So, the next time you come across a 1991 quarter in your change, don't just spend it right away. Take a closer look, you never know, you could be holding a small fortune. Next coin is 1995 United States of America quarter dollar. We are turning our attention to the 1995 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary quarter you'd pull out of your change jar. But don't be fooled, some 1995 quarters are worth only face value, while others can sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on condition, errors, and varieties. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your 1995 quarters. Let's begin with the design. The obverse of the coin features the classic bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan in 1932. The inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" accompany his portrait, with the year 1995 at the bottom. The reverse carries the iconic eagle design, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing strength and peace. This design remained on the quarter until 1998, when the U.S. Mint launched the state quarter program. Now, let's talk composition. The 1995 quarter was struck in copper-nickel clad, with a pure copper core and outer layers of copper and nickel. No silver was used in regular circulation strikes. However, there are special proof coins from San Francisco that were struck in both clad and 90% silver versions. Those silver proofs carry intrinsic silver value in addition to collectible value. Next up, mintages. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 1.1 billion quarters. The Denver Mint produced about 1.1 billion as well, making this one of the highest mintage years of the 1990s. The San Francisco Mint produced about 2.2 million clad proofs and roughly 679,000 silver proof quarters. With such massive mintages from Philadelphia and Denver, it's no surprise that most 1995 quarters are still very common in circulation today. So, what are they worth? In circulated condition, both Philadelphia and Denver 1995 quarters are generally worth just face value. You can find them everywhere in pocket change, coin rolls, and bank bags. But the story changes dramatically when we look at mint state coins. Let's start with Philadelphia. An uncirculated 1995 P quarter graded MS-60 might be worth about $1. At MS-65, prices climb into the $15 to $20 range. At MS-67, the value jumps significantly, with some examples selling for over $100. In fact, high-end Philadelphia quarters have sold at auction for several $100s. Denver follows a similar pattern. A 1995 D in lower mint state is worth a couple dollars. At MS-65, expect values in the $20 to $30 range. At MS-67, prices rise above $100, and the very best examples have crossed the $200 mark at auction. Now let's look at the San Francisco proof coins. The clad proofs are fairly common, usually worth about $5 to $10 depending on grade. The silver proofs, struck in 90% silver, are more desirable. Their value typically ranges from $15 to $25, depending on silver prices and condition. Perfect PR70 deep cameo proofs, whether clad or silver, can command premiums of $50 or more. Of course, one of the most exciting parts of collecting 1995 quarters is the search for error coins. There are a number of fascinating error varieties known from this year. Off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, and wrong planchet errors are among the most popular. For example, a 1995 quarter struck on a dime or nickel planchet can bring hundreds of dollars. Dramatic off-center errors and double strikes can fetch similar amounts. Even small errors like filled mint marks or die cracks can add collector interest and boost value. So, what's the takeaway? The majority of 1995 quarters are worth just 25 cents. But the exceptions, the uncirculated high-grade pieces, the flawless proof coins, and the dramatic errors, are worth much more. These are the coins you want to watch out for. If you believe you have a high-value coin, the best step is to send it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. A certified grade not only verifies the coin's authenticity but also greatly increases its value and desirability among serious collectors. Before we wrap up, here's a quick recap. Circulated 1995 P and 1995 D quarters are usually just face value. Mint state examples can range from $1 to over $100, with the highest grades selling for several hundred at auction. San Francisco proof quarters are worth $5 to $10 for clad and $15 to $25 for silver, with perfect examples worth even more. Error coins can bring in hundreds or even thousands depending on rarity and type. So don't underestimate the 1995 quarter. Take a moment to check your change, your coin jars, and your proof sets. You never know when you might find a hidden treasure, thanks to a close look at the 1981 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, it may look like just another coin you'd use at the store, but the truth is that some quarters from this year are worth much more than their face value. In this video, we'll uncover the history, design, mintage numbers, errors, varieties, and the true value of the 1981 quarter in today's market. So grab your coins and let's get started. Let's begin with the design. The obverse, or the front of the coin, features the famous portrait of George Washington. This design was created by sculptor John Flanagan back in 1932, to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president. On the reverse side of the 1981 quarter, you'll find the bold image of an American eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches underneath. This design represents strength and peace, and it remained on quarters for decades, until the state quarter program began in 1999. Now, let's talk about what these coins are made of. By 1981, the quarter was no longer struck in silver. Instead, it was produced in a copper-nickel clad composition. That means it has a core of pure copper and an outer layer of copper mixed with nickel. So, unlike the earlier silver quarters, these do not carry intrinsic silver value. Their worth comes from condition, rarity, and collectible demand. Moving on to mintage figures. In 1981, the U.S. Mint produced a huge number of quarters. The Philadelphia Mint struck about 601 million coins, the Denver Mint produced around 575 million, and the San Francisco Mint made just over 4 million proof coins. With such massive numbers, it's no surprise that most 1981 quarters are common and can still be found in pocket change today. But as collectors know, condition is everything. Circulated coins, the kind you find in everyday change, are usually worth only a little more than face value. Typically, a circulated 1981 quarter sells for between 30 cents and 85 cents. But when you find uncirculated examples, the value increases dramatically. Let's break it down by mint. A 1981 Philadelphia quarter in average circulated condition is only worth face value. But if you find one in mint state, things get interesting. At MS-60 it might be valued at about $1.50. Higher grades like MS-65 can bring in $15 to $20. At the very top end, in MS-67, which is extremely rare, the value can reach $70 or more. In fact, one record sale of a Philadelphia 1981 quarter in superb condition reached over $700. The Denver quarter tells a similar story. In circulation, it's worth around a quarter. In uncirculated grades, it's worth more. An MS-61 coin may be valued around $3. At MS-65, collectors might pay $20 to $30. And at MS-67, the price jumps significantly, reaching nearly $200. One particularly fine Denver example even sold at auction for $375. Now let's look at the San Francisco Mint proof coins. These were struck with special dies and polished planchets, producing coins with mirror-like fields and sharp details. Proof coins were not meant for circulation but rather for collectors. Today, a standard 1981 proof quarter might be worth $15 to $22. However, the true prizes are the deep cameo proofs, with frosted details and mirror backgrounds. A perfect MS-70 deep cameo 1981's proof quarter once sold for over $500 at auction. That shows just how valuable flawless proof coins can be. But the story doesn't stop with regular issues. Errors and varieties from 1981 are also highly collectible. Some quarters show filled-in mint marks where the letter P or D is clogged, making it look unusual. Others may have doubled dies, where letters or numbers appear doubled. There are also motto errors, where parts of the phrase, "In God We Trust," look distorted. These error coins can bring anywhere from a couple $100 to $700 or more, depending on rarity and condition. That's why it's so important to carefully examine your coins with a magnifying glass. Small differences can mean big money. So what does all this mean for collectors today? The bottom line is that most 1,981 quarters are only worth their face value. They were made in huge numbers, and most are still common. But the exceptions, the high-grade mint state coins, the flawless proof coins, and the rare error varieties, are what make this coin worth hunting for. If you think you found one of these gems, the best step is to have it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Grading not only confirms the condition but also increases the value for collectors and investors. Before we wrap up, here's a quick summary. Circulated 1981 quarters are worth about face value, maybe a little more. Philadelphia and Denver mint state coins can range from just a few dollars up to nearly $200 depending on the grade. Proof coins are worth around $15 to $22, with the most perfect deep cameo examples selling for over $500. And error coins can fetch hundreds of dollars on the collector market. So next time you come across a 1981 quarter, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Take a closer look, you might just have a hidden treasure. That brings us to the end of today's journey through the 1981, 1991, and 1995 United States quarters. These coins may seem like ordinary pieces of pocket change, but as we've discovered, their mint marks, conditions, and potential errors can make them stand out in a big way for collectors. If you enjoyed learning about these coins, make sure to like this video, share it with fellow collectors, and subscribe to Coin Collector so you never miss out on more hidden coin treasures. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, always check your change carefully. The next rare coin could be right in your pocket. See you in the next video.